What do you think is the main cyber risk going into the future? When you think about what do you think the average user is worried about? I think most people will say, I don't really care so much. You know, I hear about data breaches, everybody hacks, they send me a new credit card. No, I don't really care, right? Most people. Huh? But looking forward, there's going to be a massive explosion in physical risk, where cyber criminals can actually do physical harm, but with computers, anywhere in the world. Well, let me give you an example. Do you think with self-driving cars, first of all, actually, do you think there will be self-driving cars? Do you think?
Yes.
Yes? You think there will be? When? Like?
I don't know.
5 years? 10 years?
10 years,
Oh.
20 years,
maybe. So recently, if you've gotten, I just bought a car like 2018. It's a Honda. That car, if you go out of the lane, it will automatically shift you back on its own. So I think self-driving cars will probably happen sooner than most people think. But when you think about self-driving cars, it's really just computers. So now we go to the example of, can a criminal, threat actor, or adversary, can they actually compromise a car to inflict physical harm, to do damage? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So when normal people don't care about the credit cards, yeah, I can get another one, okay. But I think moving into the future, they're going to start caring more. And when somebody hacks into it and they can slam on the brakes when you're trying to drive, they can do all kinds of interesting things. So there's going to be a physical component when it comes to that criminal element. A couple of things. The first, probably most important thing that consumers can do is they have to educate themselves. They have to be aware. If you don't know, it's easy for us now with things like normal, like the old school cars, we have seatbelt. We can see how if we don't put on seatbelt, something bad could happen. But when it comes to cyber risk, it's not very obvious. It's not very obvious. So it's not so much, I guess, as easy as it would be if it was just a physical. So the first thing that consumers, they have to educate, user awareness. In fact, let me say it in a different way. Actionable awareness. You have to be actionable aware. So some of the things that you're doing with publishing, some of these will help, right? So the user can say, oh, okay, if I buy a new car, there's a security setting that I need to maybe change the default settings on my car. So that maybe if I have Bluetooth, right, it's not the default connection password that's there, or if they have, if it has Wi-Fi connection to digital voice assistants, they can change the default settings. But you have to be aware that you need to do that. It's kind of like your phone, right? If you get your phone, what kind of phone do you use? Is it an Android or is it an Apple? Android. Okay, good.
It's a Huawei.
Oh, Huawei. Okay.
Your president is very.
That's a different conversation altogether. We can talk about that too if you want. But if you take a phone as an example, most people, sometimes you get the badge to update your apps, right? So some people do it, some people don't. Sometimes you don't even know you need to update it, you just keep using it. But here's one interesting fact, especially with Apple, but I'm sure it applies to Android. Sometimes when you update your phone, the firmware on your phone, it resets all of your security settings. So if you had changed your privacy settings or your security settings, think about WhatsApp or any one of those, tools, Facebook, things that you use, right? Instagram. So if you update an app, you need to go back and make sure that whatever your security settings that were set are still there. Otherwise, you think you're protected and you're just sending everything in the world. But anyway, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, from a user perspective, I think it boils down to the information that you're sharing. You got to be really careful about the information you're sharing. If I'm a cyber criminal, which I'm not, I'm a threat researcher, but if I'm a cyber criminal and I want to get into your institution, let's assume you work for a different company, right? And you put all your abilities, all that stuff. But I don't know, if I want to get into the organization, but I don't know what kind of systems they have, what kind of software they have. Is it a Windows machine? Is it Android machine? Is it Apple, Mac? I don't know, I don't have that information, right? And I need that information if I want to hack into the system. I don't know what kind of phones they use. Is it Android? I need that information, and the reason I need that information is because if I'm going to hack into it, I need malware that's kind of custom for that particular operating system, right? Where do you think I'm going to go to get that information? LinkedIn. I'm going to go to LinkedIn, and I'm going to search for the organization. So organization ABC. It's going to pop up with people that work in the organization, right? See? Okay. And then when the people come up, I'm going to look for people that are related, that work in technology, right? And then I'm going to click on it because I want to see their capabilities. Now, if you don't pay on LinkedIn, you won't see the full profile. But can I pay for that? Yeah, I can pay for a premium LinkedIn. I can see the entire profile. So once I see the profile, now I know that you use Microsoft, right? Active Directory, blah, blah, blah. So now I know that information. But then I also know who I can send like a phishing email to or a social engineering, right? So once I do that, then hopefully at some point I can get, if I know if it's a male, I'll get a female fake profile on there, something that's a little more attractive. I'll get that female profile, which is me, to connect with you on LinkedIn. Let me ask you a question. You accept people that follow you and connect to you on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
You know everybody that sends you a connection request. Not really.
Not all the time.
Yes, most people don't. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So what I do is, so once I'm connected with you, I can send you information that is more relevant because I know, hey, you're looking for this, or these are your capabilities. Maybe you're looking for a job. I say, hey, I just saw a job that fits your I give you a link, you click on it. Maybe you get a job posting website that I can just put up. But once you click on it, you don't see this, right? It's in the background. Download malware onto it, and then now I'm on your machine, and from there I can start moving within the organization. So from a defensive perspective, the second thing I said is we got to be careful about the information we share. So the first one was user awareness. They got to train. You got to be aware of these things are possible, right? It's capable. But then you have to be aware of the information you're putting out, because that information can be used by cyber criminals unbeknownst to you. You don't even have to know. And then they get into your network. Artificial intelligence, AI, is dual use. And what I mean by that is a dual use technology, like most of anything. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. Water, you can use water to cook, you need to take a shower, water. But if you go into water in the pool and you don't know how to swim, it could kill you, right? Or floods. So like everything else, it's dual use. So I'll give you one example of each. Help? Does that make sense? Okay,
yes.
One example of each. So let's talk about the bad first. How they can use AI for bad. And there's different types of risk with AI, but the bad one, wherever there's data, right? Wherever there's data, in fact, I'm going to share some in the talk today. What they can do is, a simple one that you can relate to is Twitter, okay? You on Twitter?
Yes.
So when you think about Twitter, it's probably one of the most powerful platforms that cyber criminals can use with AI to do some bad things. So let me give you a quick example. So anytime we talk Twitter, we're actually sending information not just to people that follow us, but we're giving data to Twitter and anybody else. Here's the kicker. Anybody else that subscribes to the Twitter service. So anybody that subscribes, you can subscribe to Twitter and you can see all the tweets. That's how they know what's trending. You know, people say, oh, this thing is trending. That's because they subscribe to the Twitter and they get, oh, these are all the tweets. 90% of all the tweets are talking about hashtag something, right? Think about it. The information you share in Twitter contains topics of interest that you're really passionate about, that you're really interested in. It also contains users, because sometimes you say, you know, at Alexis, right, or at Aldo, or at Lisa. You know, you're putting at someone, which is a Twitter name, so you're providing names of people that are on Twitter. But what's more interesting? You know what's more interesting about this? This is so beautiful. This is great. You're also telling anybody else that subscribes to that Twitter information about what at Lisa or at whatever likes. The things they're interested in. You can say, oh, at Victor, I saw you at some presentation. You were really good. Yeah. So now you've given them information and context. So cyber criminals, you know what they do? They subscribe to the Twitter service. They get all that information. Those Twitter handles that are in all the tweets, they suck it all out. Those are potential victims. All the hashtags, suck it all out. Those are topics of interest. They take that and they put it into an AI system. AI system will learn how to generate tweets with malicious tweets that have embedded links, malicious links, customized for the individual Twitter handles. So now, the only thing that's easy, the only thing left is, generate a tweet, a reply to one of your tweets. Yeah, it's like you're talking about something, right? Hey, music or Copa Cup, right? Soccer, something that you're really passionate about. And then somebody just replies, boom, to your tweet and says, oh yeah, I just saw something, here's a link, right? You're more likely to click that link or view that image than if it's just some random email, right? And all of that is through AI. That's a very simple example, but they kind of learn, because without AI, you can't really train, and it's a lot of work for them. It's not, you know, they have to go to your individual profile, try to see, oh, what does this person need, you know, try to figure out what's, you know, going on Twitter and try to customize it. So that's the bad example, right? They can use that to weaponize these very customized and automate the work out of it. The good is, there's a lot of good, actually. So you can use AI to actually address some of these cyber risks as well. So one example that we did at Fortinet, you know, and I shared this actually a couple years ago, is imagine if you could use AI to tell if a link was malicious or benign, just based on the characters. So you know, you hear about AI using facial recognition, voice, you know, recognition, all of these other, but this one is just being able to look at a set of characters, HTTPS, blah, 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 you know, Google, and then based on that, be able to say, you know what, because I've been trained to understand URLs, right, website addresses, this website address doesn't look right. I'll give you a practical example. So in one of the models that we trained to use AI for security, the model actually, so we present a URL, a website address. Tell us if it's clean or, you know, bad, or if it's malicious, without any other information. That's just okay. The model came back and said it's bad. I said, oh, okay. So why is it bad, right? What did the AI system see that we couldn't see with our naked eyes? And it came back and it says, so the URL had HTTP, and then it had Google Doc, and then at the end it had PHP at the end. And what it says is, anytime I see Google or Google Docs, it's always HTTPS. So I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, because it's been trained to recognize that. It's to say anytime, you know, this is, and then it's also said anytime I've, you know, been trained to see Google Doc and I see the file name at the end, if it's not, you know, .xls or some of the other things that Google Docs, PHP is not part of it. Anytime I see that, so that means it's bad. Anyway, so those are good examples at a high level, but you can also automate, you know, we have an example, if you ever get time to go to the breakout, we have an example of AI on AI, where we combine two AI systems and it automates the work in a good way. It augments the work that people do from a security perspective. So instead of them having to manually do it, it's voice activated. So those are two examples, I guess.